Imagine for a second that you have this sudden, just brilliant flash of inspiration.
Probably the best feeling.
Right. You're just sitting there staring into space, and you've dreamt up the absolute perfect concept for a game level. Like,
Yeah.
you can see the geography of the map in your head. You know exactly where the hidden traps are going to be placed to, totally mess with players.
Oh, yeah, the creative juices are just flowing at that point.
Exactly. You can practically hear the sand track swelling in the background. You are buzzing with that incredible rare burst of creative energy.
Uh-huh.
So you sprint to your computer, you sit down, you hit create new project, and bam.
The wall.
The wall. Before you can lay down a single digital brick, you are slammed with a mountain of tax forms, identity verification portals, and banking setup pages.
Yeah. Nothing kills the vibe faster.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
You're staring at a blinding white screen asking for your, international routing number when all you wanted to do was build a cool digital castle.
It just fundamentally breaks the flow state. I mean, the moment someone goes from, I want to build something fun to, wait, I need to find my W-9 tax form,
Right.
the creative momentum just flatlines entirely.
It totally does. So, welcome to this deep dive, where we are looking at how one of the most dominant platforms in gaming is trying to completely re-engineer that exact experience.
And it is a massive shift.
It really is. Today, we're pulling from a really comprehensive breakdown from the Creative Block. They covered the latest Fortnite developer program update, and, well, Epic Games is rolling out a massive overhaul aimed directly at new creators.
Yeah, they are aggressively tearing down those traditional administrative walls of entry.
Exactly. We're looking at a fundamentally different enrollment process, a totally new way to handle initial payouts, and this is huge, radically lowered eligibility requirements.
Which represents a major structural shift in how user-generated content, or, UGC, is managed at scale. The core mission of this update isn't just about changing a few buttons on a website. It is about completely removing administrative friction at the point of entry.
Yeah, getting them straight into the action.
Exactly. Epic's goal is to funnel aspiring developers immediately into UEFN, that's the Unreal editor for Fortnite, so they spend their time actually learning the 3D tools.
Building environments.
Right. Rather than drowning in financial compliance before they even know how to, place a spawn point.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to really appreciate the gravity of this update, you kind of have to understand the mechanics of the old system.
Oh, it was a headache.
A huge headache. Under the previous rules, if you wanted to join the developer program, you couldn't just sign up, build a map, and see if people liked it. You had to prove who you were financially from day one.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah, you had to complete this strict tax ID verification and set up an account with a service called Hyperwallet before you could fully join and earn anything at all.
And we should probably clarify what Hyperwallet actually is, because it really highlights the absurdity of that old requirement.
Yeah, please do.
So Hyperwallet is a massive third-party payment processing platform. It's actually owned by PayPal.
Okay.
And it is designed for complex, global, enterprise-level payouts. It requires rigorous know-your-customer data, banking details, compliance with international tax treaties.
Wow.
Yeah. Epic was essentially treating a 16-year-old kid who just wanted to make a digital obstacle course the exact same way they would treat a massive incorporated software vendor.
Which is incredibly daunting for a first-time creator. I mean, you don't even know if your game concept is going to be playable, let alone popular.
Exactly.
Asking someone to establish a formal financial framework for a project that hasn't made a single cent, it's completely out of step with how hobbyists operate.
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of user acquisition.
Okay, how so?
Well, when you hit a brand new user with heavy, complex demands up front, you don't just delay their project. The data on platform onboarding shows you often lose them entirely.
Like they just bounce.
Right. That initial friction causes them to simply close the tab and walk away. Epic finally realized that this bureaucratic hurdle was consistently the loudest complaint from the community.
I can imagine, so they just moved it.
Basically, yeah. By moving all of that paperwork to the very back end of the process, a new developer can now log in, accept a standard terms of service agreement, and immediately focus on the actual craft.
Just jump right in.
Yep. They can test gameplay loops, figure out the engine, and try to grow an audience without any of that looming legal anxiety.
It totally changes the user's focus. You go from asking, am I legally prepared to be a game developer, to asking, hey, what can I build this afternoon?
Exactly. It's a totally different mindset.
But removing that financial onboarding at the start creates a pretty massive mechanical problem.
Oh, for sure.
Because if these new developers are bypassing the hyperwallet setup and they launch a map and people actually start playing it, generating real engagement, how on earth are they getting compensated?
Right. The money has to go somewhere.
Exactly. Here's where it gets really interesting. Epic has introduced something they call a developer wallet. Under this new framework, when a new creator starts earning eligible rewards for their map's engagement, those initial payouts do not arrive as cash.
Right.
They accumulate as V-Bucks.
The digital in-game currency of the Fortnite ecosystem.
Yeah. And I have to push back on this on behalf of anyone listening who, immediately raise an eyebrow at that.
I'm sure a lot of people did.
Because at first glance, doing work that generates real revenue for Epic Games and getting paid in digital V-Bucks instead of cold, hard cash,
Right.
it feels highly suspect.
It does.
It feels a bit like a 19th century coal miner getting paid in company script that they can only spend at the company store,
Yeah, that's exactly the analogy that comes to mind.
The original reports even list this as a major con for certain types of creators. If you spend 40 hours building a map and it takes off, you probably want real money to pay your actual real-world rent. Isn't forcing developers into a V-Bucks payout a major downgrade?
The skepticism is absolutely warranted. And
Yeah.
I mean, if the system trapped that value as V-Bucks permanently, it would be highly exploitative.
Right.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture of how digital escrow systems work, the mechanics start to make a lot of strategic sense for both sides.
Okay, walk me through that.
The system isn't actually replacing cash with V-Bucks. It is using V-Bucks as a sort of low-friction holding area.
A holding area.
Yeah. Let's look at the accounting nightmare Epic is trying to avoid here. If you have hundreds of thousands of casual creators, many of them might only ever generate 50 cents or $1 based on a few friends playing their map.
Oh, right, because they're just starting out.
Exactly. Processing hundreds of thousands of microtransactions through a global banking system like Hyperwallet that would cost Epic exponentially more in processing fees than the actual payouts are even worth.
So they'd be losing money on every tiny payout.
Precisely. By accumulating those early small-scale earnings as V-Bucks, Epic keeps the value inside their own closed ecosystem where transaction costs are essentially zero.
I see. So it's kind of like an arcade ticket counter.
Well, that's a good way to look at it.
You play games in the arcade all day and you win these massive reels of paper tickets. You don't have to fill out a tax form to win tickets, and the arcade owner doesn't need your social security number to hand them to you.
Nope.
You can take those tickets and spend them instantly inside the arcade on, like, plastic spider rings or sticky hands or, in Fortnite's case, digital skins or battle passes.
That captures the earning mechanism perfectly.
Hmm.
Though I'd argue the spending side is a bit more robust than plastic spider rings.
Fair enough, fair enough.
A new developer might take those accumulated V-Bucks and reinvest them directly into their craft. They might buy premium assets or new tools or engage more deeply with the platform they're trying to master.
That makes sense.
But the crucial mechanism here, the thing that keeps it from being exploitative company script, is the exit ramp.
The exit ramp to real money.
Exactly. The real-world cash option hasn't been removed, it has just been delayed. Epic is basically saying, we will hold this generated value for you instantly in this developer wallet.
Right.
But the moment you decide you want to extract this value out of our ecosystem and turn it into US dollars to pay your rent, that is the exact moment federal tax laws apply.
Okay, so they still have to do the paperwork eventually.
Yes. Developers complete their tax ID verification and set up their Hyperwallet account later when they actually have a meaningful amount of earnings they want to withdraw.
That makes total sense. You're earning, and you get the psychological motivation of seeing your developer wallet balance go up.
Yeah, that instant gratification.
Which validates that your game is actually working, people are playing it, but you save the heavy, boring legal lifting for when there is a substantial pile of money waiting for you.
Exactly. Doing tax forms to withdraw $1,000 is highly motivating.
Right.
Doing tax forms for the chance to maybe make $1 one day is just a chore.
Just a total buzzkill. So it filters out the casual dabblers from the administrative system while still rewarding them for their participation.
Precisely.
So the bureaucracy is deferred and the initial payouts are streamlined into this digital escrow. But that leads to the mechanical filter at the front door. Who is actually allowed to open this developer wallet in the first place?
Yeah, this is a big one.
Because Epic hasn't just overhauled the payment mechanics, they've radically altered the base requirements to even get access to the development tools.
This is arguably the most aggressive strategy in the entire update, and it tells us exactly how Epic views the future of their platform.
The new eligibility rules are almost shockingly minimal. To join the program now, new developers only need to meet one of two simple requirements, and the activity just has to have occurred within the past 365 days.
Right.
So, option one, you make any real money purchase using Epic payments. That could be buying a game on the Epic Games Store or buying a 3D asset on Fab, which is Epic's massive unified marketplace for digital creators, or buying something directly on Fortnite.com.
Just a single transaction.
Yeah. But the critical mechanism here is that the purchase cannot be made with a gift card or a pre-existing account balance. It requires a fresh, direct credit card or digital wallet transaction.
Which is a brilliant low-friction security filter.
Right, because if you allow gift cards, you open the floodgates to bot farms.
Oh, absolutely.
Gift cards are anonymous and often traded on gray markets. By requiring a direct transaction through a known payment processor, Epic gets a basic proof of life.
Yep, they know you're a real person.
Exactly. It verifies that there is a real human being with a traceable financial footprint attached to that account, which dramatically cuts down on automated spam accounts flooding the creator portal.
Exactly. It establishes accountability without asking for a passport.
Right. But if you don't want to buy a game on their store or an asset on Fab, option two is even more straightforward. You just need to have spent and redeemed a total of at least $20 within Fortnite on any platform over the last year.
Just $20.
Just $20.
This raises an important question about the fundamental economics of modern gaming, and it completely blurs the historical line between a player and a developer.
It really does.
Because, I mean, for decades, the gaming industry operated on a strict broadcast model. A massive centralized studio would spend millions of dollars in several years building a game, and then they would broadcast it out to passive consumers who paid to play it.
The traditional way.
Right. Making a game required specialized computer science degrees, expensive enterprise software licenses, massive venture capital backing, all of that. What Epic is doing by setting the entry fee at a mere $20 of casual in-game spending is actively dismantling that wall. If you actively participate in the Fortnite ecosystem as a consumer, and you spent the equivalent of a couple of movie tickets, you automatically qualify for the keys to the kingdom.
Wow. It's democratizing access to Unreal Engine tools, which are literally the same tools used to build Hollywood movies and AAA game titles for the price of, like, a digital character outfit.
But look at the underlying causality here. Why is Epic so eager to give these incredibly powerful, expensive tools away to high schoolers and hobbyists?
Yeah. What's the end game?
It's because the traditional AAA game development model is becoming financially unsustainable. Games are costing upwards of $300 million to produce now.
That is insane.
It is. If a studio spends 6 years making a game and the public doesn't like it, the entire studio goes bankrupt. Epic is looking closely at the user-generated content model, specifically the massive financial success of platforms like Roblox.
Right. Let the users make the content.
Exactly. Instead of trying to guess what players will want to play 5 years from now, Epic is crowdsourcing their research and development. They are turning their millions of passive consumers into a massive, decentralized production engine.
That is wow.
Yeah. When you lower the barrier of entry to $20, you get millions of people throwing weird, niche, highly experimental ideas at the wall. Most of them will fail. And it costs Epic absolutely nothing.
But when it works.
When a 19-year-old kid accidentally invents an entirely new genre of gameplay in their bedroom, Epic already owns the ecosystem it lives in.
That is a staggering realization. They aren't just being nice by lowering the requirements, they are weaponizing their community's free time and creativity to build the next evolution of their own product.
Exactly.
The players take on all the creative risk, and Epic provides the hosting. And the only filter to make sure someone is genuinely invested in the ecosystem is that $20 sunk cost.
The $20 proves you are an active participant who understands the culture of the game. You aren't just an outsider trying to extract value. You are a player trying to contribute to a world you already inhabit.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the actual integrity of the platform?
Good question.
Because if the financial background checks are deferred until you cash out and the barrier to entry is just $20, the immediate assumption is that the ecosystem is going to turn into a total Wild West.
Right, just chaos.
Yeah. Will the platform just be flooded with broken maps, copyright infringement, and chaos? Are there no rules left at the front door?
That is the critical distinction we really need to establish, because the mechanics of compliance haven't disappeared. We need to look closely at what hasn't changed in this update.
Right. And the details in the rollout make it very clear that this frictionless update only applies to brand new applicants trying to get their foot in the door. If you are an existing enrolled creator who is already making real money, nothing changes for you. You continue using the existing Hyperwallet payout system. You don't suddenly get bumped back down to earning V-Bucks.
And for those new users rushing through the open gates, the back-end legal reality is still absolute. We really can't stress enough that Epic Games is not bypassing international tax law.
The IRS always gets its due.
Oh, yeah. The IRS and every other global tax authority still exists. To use a different analogy, think of the new system like a massive casino cash-out cage.
Okay.
You can walk onto the casino floor, sit at the tables, and play all night using the casino's chips, which are the V-Bucks, without ever showing your ID.
Right. They don't care as long as you're playing.
Exactly. The casino is happy to let you play and build up a stack of chips, but the absolute second you walk up to the cage and ask the teller to convert those chips into actual US dollars, the federal regulations snap into place.
That's when they ask for the ID.
Yep. You have to produce your identification, verify your address, sign the tax forms. The compliance is still rigorous. It is just positioned at the exit rather than the entrance.
And even on the creative side, lowering the entry fee to $20 doesn't mean you can just upload whatever you want.
No, not at all.
Developers still have to accept the rigorous Fortnite developer terms. You still have to follow strict community safety rules. Every single map has to go through a moderation process before it is published and eligible to earn anything.
Like, it's not a free-for-all.
Exactly. You can't just throw up a broken map or a map that steals someone else's intellectual property and expect to rack up V-Bucks. And on top of that, you still have to actively use the creator portal.
Yeah, you got to do the work.
You have to monitor your player analytics, manage your digital projects, review your engagement data. You still have to operate the software like a developer.
Epic is executing a very delicate balancing act here. They are making the tools and the opportunity as accessible as humanly possible, specifically to capture that massive wave of crowdsourced creativity we talked about earlier.
Right.
But they are keeping the standards of the final product incredibly rigorous. They want to encourage 1 million players to take their first steps into game design, but they are fiercely protecting the experience of the players who will actually consume those designs.
Which brings us back to that initial spark of inspiration we started with. Epic has essentially isolated the friction and moved it out of the way of the creative process.
Exactly.
If we synthesize all these mechanics, the delayed tax paperwork, the developer wallet holding value immediately as V-Bucks, the simple $20 ecosystem filter, the ultimate takeaway here is that Epic Games has executed a highly calculated masterclass in democratization.
It really is brilliant.
They have looked at the massive, daunting wall that traditionally separates a consumer from a creator, and they have systematically dismantled it down to the studs.
They are betting their future on the idea that the next great leap in gaming won't come from a boardroom of executives. It'll come from a player who suddenly has access to professional tools and zero administrative hurdles to try them out.
And I want to point this directly at you listening to this right now. We all have moments where we critique the media we consume. We play a game and think, I wish they had done this differently, or I have a concept for a puzzle that would be so much better.
We've all been there.
Yeah. And for the vast majority of gaming history, acting on that thought was impossible without years of specialized training.
Or millions of dollars.
Right. But today, that paradigm is gone. If you have ever been curious about building your own digital world, or you have some weird niche concept for a game mode that you've just been sitting on, the mechanical friction to get started has literally never been lower.
That's all right there.
You don't need a business license. You don't need to be an international tax expert. You just need an idea, $20 of past engagement in a game you probably already play, and the willingness to learn how the tools work.
The only barrier remaining isn't financial or administrative. The only barrier left is your own willingness to sit down and build.
Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to chew on as we wrap up. Epic has effectively handed over the keys to the factory.
Yeah, they have.
So if the line between just playing a video game and actually developing one is now just $20 and a quick sign-up page, what kind of experience would you build if you logged in today?
I'd love to see what people come up with.
Same here. We're going to leave you to mull that over. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the evolving mechanics of the creator economy, and we'll catch you next time.